This is Laugh Through the Turbulence, Jets' final mock draft time. Chaos, picks, and maybe hope. What could possibly go wrong?
And we are fucking back. It's draft week, people, or at least it's about to be draft week.
About to be.
Yeah, we have less than a week to go, and this is going to be the Laugh Through the Turbulence New York Jets podcast final mock draft. Let's go, draft week. Get disappointed in a couple of years. The picks don't pan out as they always don't.
No, we're still on the upward part of the Jets' failure triangle.
We're on the off, but then
the triangle of failure. We're still at the I get my hopes up part. All right.
No,
the draft is the pinnacle of I get.
We're at the winning the offseason part. That's
winning the offseason. Admiring the A grade that we're gonna get.
Yeah.
Okay. So the way this is gonna go, we decided on doing a 4-round mock draft instead of 7 because 5 through 7 is a crapshoot. And each of us has one of 2 of the first 6 picks, and then collectively we are going to make the Jets picks together. 4 rounds, and we're doing this via PFF, and I'm going to kind of share a screen right now like that. Okay, so obviously we selected pretty much the same settings that we had if you followed our other mock drafts. The speed is turbo, whatever. Public is going to outweigh PFF all day, and there's going to be no randomness to this whatsoever for all the other teams that we're not drafting for, and positional value and draft for need are going to be higher than average. Okay, so we are going to start this draft. We're going to enter the draft room. Okay, and now the way we decided to do this, Adnan's going to take Titans, Patriots, Monty's going to take Giants, Raiders, and I'm going to take Browns and Jags. Are we ready, boys?
Dum 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 dum.
When you make the pick, that's the wrong music.
You're about to make the pick. What are you talking about?
He's
literally about to make the pick.
All right, anyway, Adnan, you are on the clock.
I said.
As the Tennessee Titans.
Let's do it. Yeah. I mean, it's funny because last year I had the first pick in the draft. Also, the Bears took Caleb Williams. That was a pretty easy pick. Yeah, I think this year it's kind of the same thing. The only discussion at one point was, would the Titans take Abdul Carter, which now has just kind of dissipated. Everything they've done in the offseason has been geared towards, preparing for a rookie quarterback, right? They went out and maybe they overpaid, but they paid for the Steelers left tackle Dan Moore. He'll be starting there. They're going to move their first-round pick, J.C. Latham, to right tackle. So him and Skoronski, another first-round pick, will be the right tackle and right guard, respectively. They went ahead and they signed Kevin Zeitler to be their left guard. So they should have a pretty solid offensive line. They have some decent, skilled players, namely Calvin Ridley. So I think the plan has always been to go with the quarterback. So with the first pick, a relatively simple one, the Tennessee Titans will be drafting Cam Ward out of the University of Miami.
What a bold move, Cotton. Let's see if it plays out.
Yeah,
I love that movie so much, man.
So good.
So good. Okay, so now I have the Browns' fate in my hands. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, and I was reading a lot about the Browns, right? Essentially, this is kind of what they have going on around their defense right now, because the top prospect is Abdul Carter, and you can argue Travis Hunter, too, just because he's such a Swiss Army knife being offense and defense. But this is what I've been reading, right? So essentially at edge, they have a lot of rotational guys at edge right now. They do. And they obviously have the best edge guy in the game, Myles Garrett. All those rotational guys, outside of one guy, everyone is on a contract year, which is interesting. Okay. Now, if you go to the cornerback room, Denzel Ward had concussion issues last year. So there's an idea, but he is a stud when he's in, right? And concussions are the funniest injury in the world, right? By far. I mean, not haha, that's funny he got a concussion, although it's like haha, what that doesn't make any sense. Like he barely hit his head. Hey, he has a concussion. Or he really hit his head. He doesn't have a concussion. Oh, he has a concussion. There's so many different, the brain injuries are so different. That's what I'm trying to say there. But realistically, they need help all across the board. I think that's totally fair. They need every position, and quarterback is the most weird one because they're locked into Deshaun Watson sweepstakes for so long, right? And they also have Kenny Pickett now, who's supposed to kind of take the lead if they don't take quarterback here. And the question is, do you want to deal with the circus of Sanders, basically? Because it seems like he's being very prima donna for someone that didn't have the prima donna worthy collegiate career like Dion did, right? If that makes sense. I think they pass on Sanders, and I think eventually falls to like the Saints or something like that. I think he goes that far down. Realistically, I think Abdul Carter is the pick here for them, and the reason for it is because you have so many guys on contract years, and you don't necessarily have to have Abdul Carter be the guy in year one, right? But if he is, then you've got a terrifying defense for the next whatever time. What are you guys' thoughts on that? Do you think I'm right on that?
I think so. I think that you can never have too many pass rushers, and like you said, most of their guys outside of Garrett, or maybe all of them, I think you said, are not even under contract next year. And I think it's a terrifying prospect for any team, especially in a division with Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson. So I think you're spot on there.
I think possibly, yeah. I think but from just going with best available talent perspective, but I honestly think I would not be surprised at all if they went Travis Hunter here or if they went quarterback here.
Yeah, it's one of those three.
Because
Hunter, or Carter.
Yeah. Because I think honestly, man, I think they're souring fast on Watson. I think that their quarterback situation has been trash. I think he's been the weak link. I think history will prove this to be one of the worst quarterback acquisitions in NFL history. And I think that they want to get away from that as best they can and as fast as they can. I think the time of doubling down is over. I think, if anyone wants anything out of that Browns organization within the near future, they need a quarterback. And that's my only kind of thing there is I think that you need someone there that because Watson's been the guy. They've been in on him as the guy. And there's been kind of really no challenge, no pressure, no nothing to his, supremacy there in that role, except for his own injury and lack of ability. So now, I think they need someone in there that can give him a fight, give him a run for his money and maybe even push him out. So I think I would give the edge to quarterback, but I totally could see them going, best available talent, which would be Abdul Carter.
Okay, question for you here, because obviously you're looking at these draft needs here. Mm-hmm. You see that it's quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tackle, and cornerback. Travis Hunter does solve two of those things. Even if he's rotational on one of those positions, cornerback and wide receiver. And realistically, the way I thought about this, he would probably that's how it would go. He wouldn't play 100% of snaps on both sides, right?
No.
He just wouldn't, right? There's just no way.
Realistically, he'd probably be mostly a cornerback.
That's where it's interesting. I think the more likely situation might be wide receiver, given that maybe what I mean?
Based on their needs. Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, only based on their needs, but on cornerback, he could probably just be the dime corner, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that would just be it, and that would be 10 to 20% of snaps, essentially.
That's an interesting flip. I was thinking about it the other way, where he's, I definitely think that he would play, kind of a dime corner, but I think he would play that role a little more consistently and then kind of rotate in as a wide receiver 3 or even a 2, depending on how. But then, you never know, because he could show out. It really depends on how camp goes.
Yeah. And realistically, too, if any one of these teams is going to trade out, it's going to be the Browns, right?
Yep.
It's going to be, if someone's enamored with Sanders, that's the way it's going to go. But I think it's safe to say Carter's the pick here. And I think that's the safest pick here. And I think based on the odds, I think Carter is most likely to be picked anyway. So I'm going to go Carter.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair.
It's totally fair, right? Anyway, Monty, you're going to be on the clock right now.
All right. So, the Giants, just looking at their situation, they are a fucking mess. 3-14 season. They are in, I think it's an understatement to say they're in a rebuild. But they did sign 2 quarterbacks already. They signed Russell Wilson. They signed Jameis Winston. that might be, and I think is part of a long-term strategy at the quarterback position to wait it out until next year. Because, as everyone has made it painstakingly clear, this is supposedly not a good quarterback draft, even though I think there'd be some people that are upset, in that assessment. But that's another story. But at the end of the day, they have two quarterbacks now. They don't need to necessarily invest in a third. So now let's look at the other positions. Their O-line is shit. They've got inconsistent protection, trash run blocking. And then they didn't want to do what they needed to do to keep.
May I say one thing about the Giants O-line?
Go for it.
Last year, they actually invested a lot in that offensive line. Like they tried to do mid-level talent to build a solid O-line, and it just didn't fucking work because it wasn't cohesive and it didn't work. And also, Andrew Thomas was banged up a lot last year too.
Yeah,
but he's a stud. He's a stud. I'm just gonna say that right now. He's a stud. But it is a rebuild. Need a left tackle. Of all the offensive line positions, they don't need a left tackle.
No, they don't. So not needing a left tackle, it's kind of, and with a left tackle not really being at the top of the available talent pool here, you kind of got to look to other positions in my opinion. They definitely need linebacker. They're hurting at linebacker, but that probably will be resolved later. So I think at this point, I think in reality they'll end up with Abdul Carter, and I think the Browns will go somewhere else. So with Abdul Carter not being available, I think that they build on their wide receiver room, and they go with Tet McMillan here.
You think they go Tet over Travis Hunter?
Yeah, I think they do. I think he's a more natural wide receiver. I think, yes, they do need cornerback too, but the Giants are also, not the savviest drafters. And I think they're just going to go a little bit more traditional at either position. And if they need a wide receiver, they're going to get a wide receiver. They're not going to get some guy who plays cornerback on Tuesday and wide receiver on Wednesday. That's just how I feel about how the Giants will approach that position. So if Abdul Carter's not there, I think they go for an actual, full-on wide receiver. I think they'll go Tet McMillan.
Wow. So I wanna quickly say this. Today, Joe Shane came out and said, quote, "You don't pass on a generational talent, even if you have starters at that position." Which makes me look at this and say at 3, they're going whichever's left, Carter or Travis Hunter, right? And the reason why I would say Travis Hunter, one is he is the best pure wide receiver in this draft, right? He's not like a gimmick wide receiver. He played, he played the whole game on both sides of the ball. And if you look at the Giants, right, they drafted Deonte Banks, and they just signed the corner from the Saints to be their cornerback too. So this would be a perfect scenario for them to draft Hunter, make him that full-time wide receiver, and play him as a corner in substitution packages. So
we'll see.
Would be Hunter. I think this is way too high for
this situation.
This is way too high for McMillan.
Or maybe even Sanders. That's the other thing too. Like those 3 names that we talked about with the Browns, the Giants are facing the same questions too. I don't think quarterback's totally solved, and Sanders is totally absolved from being drafted by this team either. But I don't think Hunter's out of the question too, given that one, they do need a corner, right? To go with, was it Deonte Banks? Is that right? That they have
Banks, and then they signed a corner from the Saints. I forget his name, but he's really good. Paulson
Adebayo, he got hurt, right? Yeah, he's really good. Yes,
so those are their 2 corners. So I mean, you could use him there. So that would probably be the move.
Monty is the GM, and just so you know, the Giants are not. It's the same generation that did let Saquon walk. They're not dumb enough to let Ashton Genty go. They are dumb enough. They are dumb enough. They are dumb enough. Yeah. They are. Yeah. And that's also a generational talent at that position as well. But
yeah, I think they want to. I think they want to set it up for, I think they're in a rebuild mode and they want to build for the future. I think he's just a good. I think he's a good piece, for their offense. Obviously, yes, Travis Hunter's an amazing, once in a lifetime athlete, but I don't know. I just for some reason I just don't see them taking him. I don't know.
You're taking Tet though, right? That's the. All right, he's off the board. Okay, now fourth pick, GM Adnan. Boo.
Patriots. Patriots.
It's so funny, right? Because I was totally prepared as the Patriots GM to be absolutely disappointed that Carter and Hunter weren't here, right? Because they want one of those two guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because their fallback is Will Campbell, who I don't think is the fourth overall pick. Travis Hunter is someone, from a Jets perspective, who we don't want the Patriots getting, right?
No.
A game breaker on offense, a game breaker on defense, and he's going to do both. If this scenario plays out,
but do you guys really think he's like the second coming of Dion? Like, because that's basically what what he's being sold as.
He's that kind of talent, though. He's a Heisman Trophy winner, though.
I know.
He really is.
If you watched,
lots of Heisman Trophy winners didn't do shit in the league.
Yeah, but dude,
Johnny Manziel, right? But a lot of them did.
Yeah, and I think that if you look at Travis Hunter's skill set, everything that he's good at is what NFL teams want, right? He's a good route runner. His tracking of the ball in the air, whether it's on offense or defense, I've been listening to a lot of podcasts, reading a lot about it. It's some of the best these evaluators have ever seen. He's a natural athlete. He can fly. Like, the guy is just he's the number one player in this draft from a talent perspective. And for him to fall to the Patriots at 4, they're going to be doing backflips. Disappointing for us, but that's backflips for them. The fourth pick is going to be Travis Hunter for the Patriots.
All right. Yeah, I mean, he's probably better at his position, his best position, which is probably cornerback, than Abdul Qadir is at edge, if that makes sense, in terms of a percentile. Like, if you had to say, hey, which one of those two is going to be all pro at their position, and you had to bet on just one, you would bet Travis Hunter probably.
Agreed. Yeah.
Okay. Also, because edge is crazy, in terms of the talent pool to get to all pro, right? But okay, Travis Hunter is the pick. All right. So now I have the Jaguars. This is the easiest pick. It's just Mason Graham at this point.
Yeah.
It's just Mason Graham. And the reason for it is quite simple. They're edge guys. Like, they're not taking Abdul Carter, given they have two really high premium picks used on edge. Josh Allen, not MVP Josh Allen, other Josh Allen, and Trayvon Walker, who was a first overall pick. It just makes sense. They need help in the middle. Their defense was Swiss cheese last year, so that's the pick. There's no objections here, right, guys?
No, I think that's the chalkiest pick we're gonna have outside of Cam Ward.
All right, there we go. It's funny. Our draft went very different than like the consensus drafts that we went through before, which were all the same.
Yeah, because Monty threw an absolute wild card.
Also, I did too. I didn't take Sanders. Him
not taking Sanders was a big wild card too, because I was fully prepared to take Carter, because I think that's who they end up with.
Yeah. Okay. Monty, you're on the clock as the Raiders.
All right, so this is an absolute smash for Ashton JT. I mean, the kid's fucking absolute stud. The Raiders, stupidly shipped away Josh Jacobs to a great new home in Green Bay, and they suffered for it. They dropped to pretty much last in rushing yards per game in 2024. They totally lacked, dynamic, explosive plays at the running back position. I think you don't even hesitate. I think you skip to the fucking to put in the name for Ashton Genty, and this is what they pick.
And what I'm going to do before we make this pick for them, Adnan, you wanted to talk about how there are rumors that Membo might be their pick. and you got all scared and terrified like you always do when you see a headline. Go ahead.
Well, first and foremost, I don't know where you get this idea about scared and terrified because
I see your text nonstop every day, but go ahead.
Because I have
He's just plugged into the news, I think, is what
he
it
gets
is.
worried.
Well, I think, first of all, from my perspective, as I've said, looking at the Jets, I'm equally happy with Membu or Warren, right? So Membu going to the Raiders at 6 isn't really a big deal to me. I just really think if you look at it, right, based off of, I've seen reporting from, Albert Breer, some other people. I just looked at a mock draft on the Ringer that was from yesterday where they mocked Membu to the Raiders at 6. This isn't just like a made up thing.
Yeah,
and if you really think about it, right? Yes, they had a decent right tackle last year, DJ Glaze. He was graded as a starter.
Really good, really solid.
Right.
Really solid.
Right.
Really solid.
However, Membu's a better talent, right? And if you can draft a right tackle, a premium position at 6, and then with your second round pick, draft a running back in a very deep running back class, that might be the move for a guy like Pete Carroll, right? And also with a new staff, they're probably beholden to 5 guys on that roster? Max Crosby, Brock Bowers, Colton Miller because he's their left tackle, right? So certain guys. So I think if you look at it, I don't think it's crazy that they go Membu there. Will they? I think it's 80% that they're going to go Genty. But if they went Membu, I wouldn't be shocked.
And just
real quick,
because
wait. Yeah, go ahead, Monty. Fine.
No, I was just going to say, just to add into that, they gave up a pressure rate of about 35.8% last year, which was 20th in the league, and they struggled against the blitz too, 46.6% pressure rate. They were a little bit more solid, against when they didn't have as many pass rushers, but that might be connected to what I was saying about how poor their running game was. The other side of the coin of them lacking a dynamic rushing playmaker is also them having a not so great O-line. They definitely are
quarterback.
They definitely are in the bottom half of the league at O-line. So, if you're in a kind of a rebuild mode there, I think it's possible, but I think that they would go running back or quarterback before they go O-line.
The one thing I want to say about this, because I did play golf with our Raiders fan Thatcher this weekend, and I did talk to him about this. I talked to him about what they were going to do draft-wise. Okay. First off, the Raiders O-line, the pressure rate, it's a little skewed because, when I look at their PFF grades for this whole line, and take it with a grain of salt, but, everyone's really solid. First off, Colton Miller is one of the best left tackles in the league, right? Last year, Mumford was actually supposed to be the starting right tackle, and he was really good in 2023. He got hurt, and then that's when DJ Glaze, who was their rookie third rounder, came in, and he was very good. He only gave up 3 sacks. He was the biggest culprit, though, for pressures, though. I will give him that. I will say that.
Sounds like a club DJ.
It does sound like a club, but they were pretty solid as an old line. Even though you said what you said, but mind you, bad QB play and all that could factor into it too, right? And also just knowing that that QB ain't gonna tear you apart if you throw the blitz, right? That's another thing too. But all right, Genty's the pick. I doubt it. Adnan is too scared to take a bet with me that Membu's the pick there, and I would give him good odds, but that's okay. Genty is their pick. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, well, because I believe 80% they're going to take Genty. I'm just saying if they took Membu, I wouldn't be shocked.
I gave you 5-1. Okay, fine. Genty's the pick, and now, oh my God, the Jets are in the clock. On the clock. Oh my God. So we're running to the podium at this point for Membu, right?
Yeah, I think you kind of have to.
Do you want to make a case for your boy Tyler Warren, Adnan? Try to convince us. The war room.
Yeah, look, here's what I would say with Tyler Warren, and I know that a lot of people want Membu. I said I'd be fine with Membu as well, and I would be. But when you look at Tyler Warren, right, this is somebody that the Jets really, really need. One is, You need that second pass catcher, and he is the best pass catcher in this draft, right? That's number one. Number two, solving tight end is more difficult than people think, right? If you look through the NFL, how many excellent tight ends are there, right? Brock Bowers, Sam Laporta, and then you're getting into older guys, right?
Kelsey's
what's his name in Arizona?
Hawkins is not that old though. But
Hawkinson, and then what's his name? Oh, why do I always forget his name? The Arizona tight end.
You basically get a guy. You get a guy worth talking about maybe once every 2 drafts.
Right. And I think that when you look at Warren, the versatility, right? First of all, he was a quarterback in high school, right? So he can throw the ball and actually threaten you on these trick plays. He can line up in the slot. He can line up in line. He can line up in the backfield. He can run, the wildcat looks. He can provide your offense with so much versatility, and he's the perfect complement to Garrett Wilson because he's someone who can work the deep middle of the field, right? And they don't have a guy like that, right? And if he can work the deep middle of the field, Garrett can work everywhere. And I also think by going with a guy like him, he may not be a great blocker, but he's a willing blocker. And I think you can work with that at the NFL level. Also, keep this in mind that going into next season, the Jets don't have one tight end under contract. And going into next season, Garrett Wilson and Malachi Corley are the only 2 pass catchers under contract, right? So if you can get a guy like Tyler Warren, a talent like that at 7 overall to go long-term with Garrett Wilson, I almost think you got to do it. I know that the positional value isn't there at 7. I understand that completely. But for a guy with his skill set and his talent and what he can do for this offense, imagine a 3rd and short with Tyler Warren, Braylon Allen, and Breece Hall in the backfield.
As your package, yeah.
Exactly. Like all these different things they can do. So
you also may not have Breece after next year, too. I will say that too.
Which is fair, but talking about this season, you still have Braylon Allen, And so I think that
and one last thing that you missed out on or didn't mention, but we've talked about it before, is Justin Fields has traditionally always, we just picked him up and we want to set him up for success. He's the first quarterback hire in a new regime. We want to do something. We want to make it work for him. He targets the tight end. He targeted tight end at a 24.5% clip last year, which was good for top half of the league. I think like 14th or 15th, something like that. So, and he's traditionally known. I mean, Cole Kmet 8. When Fields is up in Chicago. So he likes to throw to tight ends. So you get him an elite tight end. I mean, how much of a better fit can you get?
Well, now here's the other question, right? Okay, so obviously he likes tight ends, but bear in mind last year in Pittsburgh, Pickens is a jump ball guy, not so much a get open guy like Garrett Wilson is. They're very different wide receivers. They didn't have the pass catching running backs that the Jets have. Right, in Breece Hall. So so obviously they're going to lean tight end, right, in that situation more than traditional, right? And then you saw but that's just my opinion on that. The drop off
Freiermuth is also good.
Yeah, but the drop off of tight end after Tyler Warren isn't as bad as Membo.
No, it's not.
So that is why I also lean Membo, right? Because I think you can get 80% of Tyler Warren in the second round and somebody or the 3rd round and somebody who can develop, right? Yep. I don't think you can get 80% of Membo in the second round or the 3rd round, right?
You can't. And when it comes to the positional value, it's just exponential. So Membo's the pick, guys, right?
So this is what I'll say. I think the Jets will take Membo, but I feel like I would still take Warren. Membo's the pick, yes, but I think I would take Warren. Monty?
Yeah, I think you got to go Membo, but again, Warren is a very juicy pick, and I think he'd be just as boosting to the Jets' bottom line.
Okay. Membo's the pick because I'm the other vote, I guess, on that. Even though Adnan's, I don't even know.
I think they'll go Membo.
Adnan's so back and forth on it. It's crazy.
I think they'll go.
I heard you, man. I'm just kidding around now.
I just like I'm torn, man. Like this is such a
yeah. Well, the Jets could just trade up the rest of their picks and trade up to get Tyler Warren. Yeah, and just do what the Texans did the other year with Stroud and Will Anderson.
Imagine that.
And that worked out. But okay, Membo's the pick. We're gonna just settle it. The Jets are drafting Armand Membo. And if you need to know more about him, then go watch any other Jets podcast besides us. Because like literally everyone's been talking about this guy. Jets X Factor's been talking about him, and we had a whole episode talking about him. So if you don't know about him, it's the only time you're going to listen. Like, oh, well, they didn't talk much about Armand Membo. Look, he's a right tackle. We don't have a right tackle, and he's really good. He's a mauler. And he's got very little flaws, and he's great. That's basically all you need to know. God,
O'Leary's been beating the drum for Warren, by the way.
Can I ask you guys a quick question? A little curious here in the second round. Why do the Titans have the third pick in the round and not the first pick?
Okay, so the way the draft works, right? So if you all have the same record, and like obviously strength of schedule, whatever determines the first round, and then it reverses in the next round.
Oh, they all had the same record. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. That's why. So that's why the Jets will flip with, I guess, the guys we tied with, which would be Saints and Panthers.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay, so now I guess I'm back on the clock. All right, I didn't address anything with my first round pick, right? I literally did not. And as we said, they need all the help in the world, right? And I'm just gonna check to see for kicks, right? If Jackson Dart is there, he probably is. He would have been gone by somebody else already, though.
Yeah, I think so. But I don't know, man. I think he might be. Listen, like he looks good. He seems like a good, value and stuff like that to get, to get a quarterback that might be good without having to burn a top pick. But let's be honest, he's not a top pick for a reason. There's a lot of question marks on his game. He seems developmental. He might just not be good.
I'm just curious what his ADP has started to look like just for kicks, right? I'm pretty ADP according to PFF.
Yeah.
Kicks, right?
38
kicks, right? The trends. It's going higher, which is crazy.
Look at where it was earlier though, before like even the draft process.
This was the combine.
Yeah.
This was the combine. Yeah.
Yeah, because a few months ago, he was solidly a second round guy.
Yeah.
Solidly.
Even I was talking about him before the season ended, right? You guys remember that. I was like Jackson Dart. And now everyone's talking about it. Now I'm like, nah. Like what I mean?
When they zig, you zag,
Yeah. I don't feel like, I hate it. I wish it was a kept secret because it would have been a nice little thing. All right, so then I guess I just got to figure it out. I mean, Connolly makes a lot of sense because they need tackle help, but at the same time, they did pass in Travis Hunter. Higgins, I guess you got to go tackle here. You might as well. I mean, that's a big because they don't have Jedrick Willis anymore, right? Did he re-sign with them at all? I'm not.
I haven't heard anything about him. I'm not sure.
Yeah, see, that would have been a good. If the Jets had signed him, then we would have just drafted Tyler Warren. But like he was so shaky and he had injury issues. But all right, I'm gonna go Connolly. I think that's the move. He was pretty solid. Like just solid, right? And he played with Oregon, so he's pretty good. Not too many sacks over the course of his career, and he's a left tackle, right? Yeah. Fair enough. I think he was a little undersized, though, last time I checked. He was a little undersized. Yeah. 6'4" and 315, which is small, but it's in Monty's scale of weight approval, though.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going him. Giants are on the.
I'm very fat racist against
fat phobic. You're going to get canceled.
Yep. Cancel me. All right. Let's see. I think the easy pick right here. I think the prime target that the Giants would probably be leaning towards at this point. I didn't pick a QB early because they needed other positions, and I think just in real life how this goes. I've said it before. I think they go Abdul Carter. I think he's available. I think that's who the Giants end up with. But and then so here they would, if they had gone Abdul Carter, they probably would be looking either at QB or wide receiver. So we're looking at either Emeka Ibuka if he was available, or who I'm going to go with right now, Jalen Milroe. I think that's a great compliment to the QB room. I think he's a developmental guy that does help them for the future. And if he ends up not turning out to be anything worthwhile, they have next year that they can fall back on in the draft if they suck. And they have a lot of QB talent to pick from that year as well. So they do have that backup plan. And I think you put someone like Milbro in a room with, Russell Wilson and Pastor Jameis. I think that, I think he'll get some inspiration and, he'll learn some tricks of the trade. And, I think that's a good room for a player like that to develop. And so
it's funny you called Jameis the pastor of those two.
Yeah,
right.
He is, man. The way he
is. He's a preacher.
He really is. Yeah,
I know, but like Russell is just such a he goes to church before the games, right? You know what I mean?
True.
Like,
he's like kind of a weenie and a goody two shoes.
He's such a goody two shoes, man. I mean, I think that's why our Pittsburgh episode did really well, by the way, because I was really cursing out Russell Wilson after that. Interesting though, that you would go Milroe over Dart, with all things available. And this is the other thing that's just very interesting. The PFF rank has Milroe higher than Dart, even though Dart clearly has the higher ADP.
I think that, well, first of all, coming from Alabama, playing in, SEC, playing, the top talent, playing against the top competition, I think Milroe's a little more battle tested than Dart playing at Ole Miss. And obviously that gives him the higher platform to shine. So, that's gonna make the traditional graders and traditional scouts and stuff like that probably value him a little higher than someone like Jackson Dart, unless they just see something amazing, which I haven't really necessarily seen from Dart. It's not like Aaron Rodgers at Cal, you know what I'm saying? Where it's like he's playing at a whatever school, but he's just Aaron Rodgers. You know what I mean? This is Jackson Dart. I think we need to maybe pump the brakes a little bit. And I think in the case where you can pick a quarterback from Alabama who's got wheels, who's got physicality, who's got talent, and versus a guy like Dart, I think they'll go with Milroe. And I also think if they're picking Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston as their QBs, like on purpose, like I think that Jalen Milroe's a better fit for that.
On purpose for what?
That's more in line with their thinking at that position.
What, be black? What?
Be mobile and athletic, you fucking asshole.
Monty talked around that so well.
I know he did, but that's what he meant.
Very good. I
just want to fine. Fuck you guys.
Since I didn't get to do it earlier, I just want to recap what the rest of the first round looked like. I had the Panthers taking Will Campbell. Barron went to the Saints. They passed on Sanders, even though I think that could be a landing spot. Tyler Warren ended up going to the Bears.
So can we stop for one quick second? I've seen a lot of people mocking Tyler Warren to the Bears.
We're starting to see that a lot. It's basically playmaker or best edge guy available, and that's also a candidate to trade up for Carter, I've heard too.
Yeah, and I think that's the move if Genty is gone, which he most likely will be. I think they'll go Warren instead of like the second running back.
And just to kind of keep going through the board, Golden went to the Cowboys, so that could have been a Tet landing spot. Will Johnson went to replace, I guess, Ramsey in right? Because Ramsey's out of Miami now, right?
Well, he's requested a trade, or they're looking to trade him.
They're moving him. Moving him.
The Colts passed on Livingston and went because they didn't have Tyler Warner available. They went best edge available. Jalen Walker ended up going to the Falcons after all, which is ironic because when we did the trade, they didn't take him. And we did an episode where we traded with the Falcons so they can trade up for Jalen Walker. And then the auto draft for them did not give him Jalen Walker. Williams went to, that's interesting too, Arizona there. Mike Green to kind of help with the Hendrickson issue. I'm not going to try that name. Actually, you know what? Should I try it? Forget it. Okay, but the kid is good though. I know that.
Ezra, yeah, he's good.
Yeah, he had like how many sacks last year? He didn't lead the league in college football in sacks last year. Or am I wrong on that?
I know he led the ACC. I'm not sure about the entire
Yeah, he had 14
country.
sacks last year. He was a
Yeah,
big.
it was really good.
Okay. Kenneth Grant, who was a guy that we ended up mocking because of that trade, went that way. No, the scroll sucks. But Sanders and Ohio State went that way. Sanders ended up going to the Steelers, which is a home run for them, I guess, because they really need a quarterback. Josh Simmons ended up going there. Banks, Starks, and all that shit. Damn, this scroll sucks. James Pierce went to the Ravens, and you know that's going to work out.
Yeah, 100%. They have he has some off the field stuff, so they have the infrastructure to.
Yeah, Luther Brown went to the Lions. Wow. Okay. Hampton went. They took a running back. Washed. I guess that's interesting. Yeah, that makes sense.
Bills
Zabel
took a tackle.
Yeah, screwed. And Loveland went
Ooh,
to.
Loveland on the Eagles.
That was interesting because
that'd be dangerous.
Goddard want more money. That would be.
Well, that's going to make Goddard available if they go tight end. Like definitely available. You know.
And also, we're a team that could possibly scoop up Goddard, right? And then the Mark Andrews rumor that buzzed around. But okay, you're taking Milrow though, right? So we can move forward
for sure.
Plus Shizzle
for Sugardale.
There you go. Yeah, you gotta teach words. Okay,
I'll teach you all the slang.
Thank you.
I'm
the white guy on the show. If you're only listening to this, right? We are the most diverse Jets podcast though out there.
I think that's fair to say.
We really are.
We have that. We have that title.
All white guys, right?
Yeah,
it is 100%. It is very, very Casper-y out there.
Yeah, we should start some drama where I'm like, is every other Jets podcast on YouTube racist? Yes or no? You know,
I don't know if we want to go down that road, but
I think it's a bunch of Jersey guys. So
racist question mark. You know, I put DEI in the hashtags for us. Okay, here we go. On the clock, the Titans and Adnan was the Titans, right? So what are you gonna do after you got yourself a quarterback?
Yeah, so the first thing I'm going to do if I'm a Titans fan is I'm going to thank God that Monty is not my GM. Because if we ended up with Ted McMillan and Jalen Milrow with our first two picks, oh, buddy.
I don't know. We'll see. You don't know yet.
When we look at the Titans, right, you've drafted your rookie quarterback. I think you've done a pretty good job solidifying your offensive line. You have a number one wide receiver in Calvin Ridley. But, man, I think you just got to keep hammering the offense. Can you bring up the wide receivers, John?
Okay. Fair enough. Wide receivers.
I'm
guy is there.
Yeah, I'm going to give him our guy, Jaden Higgins. Yeah. I think that with Ridley, he's not a small receiver, but he's kind of more of your more polished, refined wide receiver. Jaden Higgins is your big body complement to him, a guy that can give you a secondary target, someone that Cam Ward can grow with, and I think that's really important for young quarterbacks. So I'm going to give them the wide receiver here and not even think twice.
Yeah, and to be fair, we're not good at drafting second-round wide receivers.
That's fair as well.
All right, so fair enough. Good pick. That's a good pick. Jags on the clock. And okay, so this is interesting. So they just got Mason Graham, right? I mean, I could just double down and do like a Jets 2017 draft or whatever draft Mahomes was, where we drafted two safeties and they just draft two D tackles. They're all set. But no, I'm not going to do that. I'm probably going to go best available for the needs that are not addressed here, if that makes sense, right? The safety class is actually pretty strong in this class, and Winston's actually pretty decent. Penn State was great last year. They're losing a lot of talent, though. They are losing a lot of talent if you look at them side by side, right? You show more on this. Whoa, that was bad. Why was I wrong on that? Oh, did he get hurt?
He got hurt. He only played like a game. Yeah, so
he did get hurt last year, but I know he was a stud. But I think that's the pick regardless. They're stupid enough to do it. Yeah, that's right. Winston got hurt last. Yeah, that's right. But I'm still taking him anyway.
That's why he's available right now.
That's why he's available there. Yeah, because he's regularly a first round talent. But yeah, that's the pick. Raiders are on the clock. That would be Monty.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Can you scroll down a little bit? What's available? I'll be honest. I think that
that was my bad.
That's exactly who I'm going for. I think the Raiders need help all over the ball. I know they technically need a corner, but when you have a ball hawking safety like that, he led the FBS in interceptions the last 2 seasons. I think that someone like that drops to that pick and is still available. I think you gotta go for it. I think he'd probably be among their top targets around that time. If not, someone like Azrea Thomas or Barron, who already went. As far as cornerbacks, if you want to really directly address available needs, but someone like Watts, I think you can't pass up on. So yeah, let's go with Watts.
Yeah, that was my mistake. I should have taken Watts for him as a safer pick, but that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the right pick though. Non, you got anything to say about Watts?
No, I think
a couple times too to us.
Yeah, yes. I think it's a great pick. In this day and age of the NFL, you need kind of a ball hawking safety, somebody that can make plays on the back end. So yeah, I think with their pass rush with Max Crosby and they definitely could benefit from some help in the back end, especially since they released Jack Johnson. So I think that's the move.
A question for you guys. Hypothetically, if Winston had fell to us, because Watts is probably going to go before him realistically, you would scoop him in round 2, right?
I don't know, man. I don't know about a safety in round 2. It would depend on who's left.
Well, we've been talking about how safety is like a secret need for the Aaron Glenn defense.
Yeah, but I feel like Warren, I just worry about the injuries, man. Right? Yeah, I hate the injury stuff.
I hear you too. I hear you. Okay, so Watts is the pick, right? Right, Monty?
Yep.
All right, and guess what? You're still the GM, so you get to keep going. Right? Are you
that's Adnan. Sorry
about
that. I got Giants next.
Yeah, let's go to the wide receivers.
Yeah, just real quick, just a reminder, you did take Travis Hunter. Okay, wide receivers, very good. Even though you do have kind of a wide receiver right now.
Yeah, I mean, with a young quarterback, I think the same thing. I'm gonna go with Jack Besh here. I think that when you're looking at a young quarterback, you want to surround him with weapons. Diggs is a year older now. He's coming off of the injury. The other thing is to take a page out of John's race book. Jack Betch is white, and the Patriots eat.
Wait! You're not calling me racist or anything like that, right? I'm like,
no, John, not at all.
I'm saying, never. Not racist. I'm just saying you like to bring up race, which is
I do.
Take that for what it is. But look, Jack Betch, in all honesty, I think he'd be a good fit for the offense. Somebody that can again grow with Drake May. You want to get him weapons. And I don't think there is a left tackle here that's worth taking. So I think just get him more weapons. So I'm going to go with
just for kicks. You're going to look at tackle real quick. Donovan Jackson would be the one name.
Yeah, he'd be the one.
Would have been first rounder and considered maybe the left tackle up top the board had he not gotten hurt last year.
That's the whole thing, right? And coming off of an injury, I just don't like to take those guys, especially when you have like a cleaner prospect there at wide receiver. So I would go with the wide receiver.
Taking back. Okay. And so now you're set at wide receiver because you have him and Travis Hunter, technically.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Who's gonna be on the clock? Is it us? It is us. Hey, all right. We got a lot of options to go through here. All right. So we dressed tackle, right? So we did our jobs at GM. Maybe our biggest need, but now I think wide receiver is the name of the game here. That would be my opinion. I'm guessing Dart's gonna still be here. I don't want to make that pick because I don't think realistically he's even gonna be there, but he is there. Just an FYI. And that would be good value, I think, at pick 42.
What tight end is still available?
That's the position, right? So there's every tight end is on the board except for.
I think you go for Mason Taylor.
I agree. I think Mason Taylor.
Like Mason Taylor more than Arroyo, huh?
I do. Yeah.
I do. Yeah, I definitely.
First of all, look at Arroyo's age. I think he's much older.
Okay, real quick, 20. All right, so he's basically 21.
So he's.
Also, look,
22, yeah.
Also,
1 year older.
I know his blocking may not be, elite or whatever, but I think, blocking for Warren might be a little overrated, but he's still great. But I think ultimately, if I have to pick, I want another playmaker, and I think Mason Taylor is another playmaker.
I agree. I think Mason Taylor is the guy.
Question for you: just because there's a lot of guys still at the tight end position remaining, right, that are still solid, would you want to peek at the wide receiver room at all?
Yeah, let's look at it.
Like, I don't want to try pronouncing that name from Stanford.
A.O. Manor. I honestly don't know a ton about him. I'll be honest with you.
Middle of the pack, contested catch rate, 6'2", 210. So he's a little husky.
Smart guy too.
Has high football IQ and ideal size. This guy white.
No, he's probably I just
wanted to make the joke, man. Sorry, but big bodied.
No, he is not.
He is Latin. He is definitely Latin. He's definitely a Latin dude.
There we go. Okay. Lack of production spoke for the rest of Stanford's offense. He does well to get off press coverage. Release is diverse, dynamic release. Looks like he's good with his feet. That's what it's saying. Separates, high separation rate. Lacks same success against single coverage. Okay, so he's good against the zone. Which, if you really think about it, with Justin Fields, you kind of have to go more zone because of the running ability. Like, a defense is playing against us, they're probably going to have to go more zone than they normally would with a running quarterback. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So like it might be a good fit. That's what I'm trying to say. Does many things subtle to create windows of separation, shoulders and hands. Just going to look at the stats real quick. Yards per
He's actually Canadian.
He's Canadian?
Yeah.
He's Canadian Latin?
I think he's probably just he's probably mixed race Canadian dude.
Okay, so kind of white. Okay.
Probably black
I
and white.
The name a leak would be the freaking thing, and I know I said it at the worst time because I thought it was funny. Frame and willingness to help him effectively block through the explosive athlete who can accelerate. Yes, conscious and release technique. High football IQ, which is always really great. Effective at getting off pressure. Hands could be strong, especially in traffic. Stronger. Takes extra time to stop or truly change direction. Low separation rate versus single coverage.
What's his contested catch? What's his contested catch rate?
Middle of the pack. Oh, slightly above it.
So if he's not getting if he's not a contested catch guy and he's not getting, really good separation, I don't know.
I hear you. And also Kyle Williams is right there too, and we did mock him a couple, but that's pretty early, isn't it?
Kyle Williams is good, but he's not a better prospect than Mason Taylor is.
Yeah, I'd say Mason Taylor. You don't think twice. I just think tight end is much harder to solve than wide receiver.
And I think Mason Taylor is like
even though that would be early, relatively early.
What are we? 42. Yeah, that would be pretty early. But I mean, it's
position would be relatively early.
But it's positional need, and what's the ADP wise? What's the top
62
right now? No. Meaning, what's closest to 42 in any position?
Okay.
All right. So right. Yeah. Can you rank by ADP?
You got Trey Amos. You got the guy we just talked about, wide receiver.
The receiver is right at the Jets ADP for this pick.
I haven't heard anything about him. Don't know much about him. I don't get it.
Yeah, I just think Mason Taylor is just even if it's a little bit early, because you can't risk not getting him, in my opinion.
Right. If he's available.
All right, you guys want Mason Taylor, right? I'm going to lose that vote. I would disagree on it. I'd go another way, but okay.
What would you go with, though?
I'd go with the Canadian. Not knowing anything about him. Just
you go with a wide receiver just because of wide receiver. And
I would.
I think because here's why I think you should not, because I think, like I said, right now, you want to set Fields up for success, and if we get a future a QB in the future, he's going to be a young guy more than likely as well. If we don't get one.
No, I hear you. But
safety blanket.
42, 73, and 110. 73 lines up with Mason Taylor's ADP, and realistically, they're probably trading up. If they passed on him there.
Yeah. So then we trade back here.
You would trade back at some point, correct?
Yeah, we trade back here then.
Yeah, we trade back after passing on Mason Taylor, but I don't think we should do mock trades because they're really unrealistic in this thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think. Look, I think that at the end of the day, right? I just feel like the way the NFL is going, every team wants a dynamic tight end because a dynamic tight end is a field tilter, right? And if you're going to pass on Mason Taylor, in this mock, if we passed on him doing this simulation, he might still be available at the Jets' next pick.
It's got to be for a smash, though.
What do you mean?
If you're gonna pass on that talent and you're gonna hope that you get him in the third pick, it's got to be for someone that's like a no-brainer. You definitely know who it is because, like I said, he's a positional need guy. He's a great talent. He's all the pros that you'll see there. I think he's a lot better than these numbers might be necessarily showing. I think he's battle tested versus pretty good talent.
Yeah. Why was his production not great with Jaden Daniels? 2023.
Is Jaden Daniels a tight end guy? I think he might not be a huge tight end guy. Who's
yeah, but I mean, if you look at his production with Garrett Nussmeier, right, last year with a quarterback who's kind of more of a prototypical NFL. I'm not saying that Jaden Daniels he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL right now, but I think in college he played a little bit of a different style, right? Whereas Nussmeier is more of like an NFL quarterback. And you also want to see progression year over year, right? He got better every year. His first and second years were kind of identical, and then last year he had his best production.
Yeah, and he has the size.
Plays a lot in the slot too.
Yeah, you can move him around. Like I think he's
that.
He's the best consolation you're going to get for Tyler Warren.
All right. We're making that pick. All right.
Cool.
All right, cool. On the
clock,
I
said, I could have been convinced there if you had a compelling other pick, but I just didn't.
I was thinking D tackle for a second, but I don't think the Jets are going that way. I mean, Adnan did in our group chat about the 33rd team saying they were going to basically not go use any premium picks on D tackle, and I'm going to try and stick with that concept.
Okay.
I maybe would have gone safety, but Watts was gone, and even the Penn State kid, wide receiver. If Higgins was there, that would have been the pick, no question. And maybe they trade up for that, but that's the thing. Like, there's more trade activity in the day two than I think obviously day three is a trade bonanza, right? But day two has a lot more trade activity than day one, right?
Right.
So also because there's two more rounds, but that's the other thing too. There's two more rounds, right? So, but okay. Anyway,
right.
So Giants
scroll down
for some reason now.
Yeah, scroll.
I guess there's a lot of picks gone from the guys that I didn't make a second round pick, right? Besides one, okay.
Let's leave it there for a second. Yeah. See now, this is kind of this is a little bit of a tougher one. I think that in this case, though, I think you got to go with
you botched your draft already, dude. You did.
How?
No one's happy with that draft, dude.
With what?
Tet as the number 3 overall pick.
Yeah, dude.
They're getting a D on the draft grade the next day.
I mean, that's a draft where Mel Kiper's losing his mind.
Yeah, and he's like, this staff is going to get fired.
Yeah,
a new regime's going to come in. They're going to draft Archie Manning, and they're going to continue the Manning. You know what I mean?
This is one of the most irresponsible moves I've ever seen by a front office.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you want to do? What do you want to do?
So guys? I think you go corner here with Ben Morris.
Ben Morris. Yeah.
Well, I mean, just first keep in mind, right, that the Giants drafted Deonte Banks in the first round a couple of years ago and just paid big money for a free agent corner. Are they still going to go corner in the third round? I mean, it's still rich.
Arroyo's still there. Jesus.
It's still a positional need for them.
Yeah. Anything else?
Because the other need would have been linebacker. So I mean, you would have gone with what's his name there up at let's see, is who's available there?
Well, Demetrius not. Well, they don't.
Demetrius Knight, but he's not like
that. They don't need a linebacker like that.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, you solved QB. Apparently, they didn't have a wide receiver need, but you went wide receiver because they have Neighbors who's nasty. Tackle. You could go tackle, but there's nothing here.
Well, I mean, they need a right tackle. As Trapillo was there, like
you
that.
can give him Trapillo.
Yeah,
massive human being. Massive.
Yeah, let's go with corner.
I think.
Yeah, you're the GM, so all right, you're going Morris.
I think Monty is sabotaging the Giants because he's a Jets sleeper agent in the front office.
Wow.
All right, Morris is the pick. Morris is the pick. We're moving on. Browns are on the clock. That would be me, right? In this case, yes, it would be me.
Mm-hmm.
All right, just to recap what I did, I took edge and I took tackle. I stayed in the trenches, but then I neglected all the premium positions there, essentially. For not premium positions, all the skill position players, right? And Kyle Williams is just my favorite of this group. I mean, we talked about him before. I mean, he's just that would go nicely with Jerry Jeudy. But I mean, yeah. And then Royals, I don't really know much about Royals. He's just basically the same. 0-star recruit though, gotta love that. All right, I'm gonna go Kyle Williams. Although they could take a running back here. Honestly.
I was gonna say like Dylan Sampson is.
Yeah, they could take Sampson. Yeah, that would be the pick because what Chubb is.
Chubb is coming off injury.
Does he have 2 legs? Yes or no?
Right. I don't know. That's a good question.
All right, you know what? Let's go Sampson. That's a good pick though. That's actually a high quality running back. That's a high quality.
I'm looking at his grade in 2024.
Yeah. That's a high quality running back.
Yeah.
You're worried about production, 22 touchdowns. Yeah,
I think he's the SEC Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah. Clapping at Sampson. All right, Raiders are on the clock, mind you, and that would be Monty again. You took Gentine, and you took Watts.
Yep. Let's see who do we have here. They have Knight. What they needed. I mean, so they they still need. Well, we got we got safety and we got running back sorted out. Let's see.
You need wide receiver, D-tackle, corner.
Yep. So let's see. Third pick, fourth.
Yeah, you take wide receiver, I guess, right? You need something for Gino, right?
Yeah, I think you gotta give him a target. He already got Bowers, but you need you need someone else for him to throw to. So let's look at the wide receivers.
Yeah, you do. And it's a deep wide receiver class. It's just not very top heavy, despite the fact that what's his face went 3rd overall in this draft because of the Giants.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Yeah, I think. Well, let's go with Kyle Williams.
Okay. I don't hate it. I mean, I do for us, but, all right, Patriots are on the clock.
Yeah, let's take a look at the running backs really quick.
For the Patriots, yeah, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Travion
Henderson, not even thinking twice.
Not even thinking twice about it. Once again, a really deep running back class.
Yeah.
Which is why
to get him in the 3rd round, no brainer.
That's huge. Yeah, that's huge.
All right, fair enough. Okay, Jags are on the clock. That would be me again, right? Yes, it would be me again. Just to recap what I did, I took Mason. I went all defense. They need wide receiver help, tight end help. You know what? Arroyo is their pick right there. That's a good pick.
I don't think you can pass him at this point. Yeah. No,
that's a really good pick for him. And then we're going to be on the clock. Okay, we're on the clock. Just so you know, once again, we addressed the offense pretty well. The only defensive need that we're reportedly needing is interior. That might be the pick there. I'm just going to put the positions that we need on here. Okay, just DI. What was it? Wide receiver, right? Anything else that we missed on? What was it? What was the last one? According to these guys.
So we hit tackle. We hit what? Quarterback is the only
one. You're going to hit tackle and quarterback, right? Yeah. But I think it's too early to take a quarterback. Like, if they take a quarterback, it's going to be like, what's his face from Syracuse in the 5th round.
Yeah, well, go to quarterback. See who's there.
Yeah. Nothing great. Nothing. Alfred Collins is there. Oh, my God. Alfred Collins is there, dude. We talked about the run stuffing machine that he was in one of our other drafts.
Yeah. Let's
That's the pick, dudes. But okay, that's my pick right now. There's no quarterback in sight for a while. Well,
Yeah,
Howard.
which is fine.
Okay, fair
Go
enough.
back to the top.
Yeah, so you got Royals, you got Trey Harris.
Look at Trey Harris really quick.
Yeah, I mean that's a solid right there, 6'3",
Yeah.
210. The stats show the
Wait,
contested.
what was his size? I didn't see his size. What was it?
6'3".
6'3",
Yeah, I think he's
Yeah.
the guy, man.
guy.
That's a
That's actually
solid.
really. I'm surprised we didn't mock him at all ever.
He's
Why
flying. He's kind of flying under the radar. You know,
Yeah.
He's injured riddled.
played great against LSU. I mean, you know.
And listen, in the third round, like this guy's too talented to pass up in the third round.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so he played 8 games last year and still eclipsed 1,000 yards.
Yeah, let's go ahead and lock that
And
in.
he did come back to play.
Yeah, let's go ahead and lock that in.
Yeah, I like that.
Trey Harris.
Got him, but yeah. Okay. Patriots on the clock. What do you got? Picks or
we're hitting the offense hard. Let's just look. I doubt there'll be anything there, but let's look at the tackles. I want to see if there's a viable left tackle here.
I bet Ozzy's still there.
He's a right tackle though, and they signed Morgan Moses. You know what I mean?
All right. Well, wait. I think he's played left tackle before.
Yeah, 2 years ago, right? He barely played it his last 2 years. I mean, I still think that. Let's see. Let's look at the Arizona tackle really quick.
Yeah.
Is he a left tackle or a right tackle? He's a left tackle.
He's a switch hitter.
Yeah. He can play a lot of different positions.
You don't need a switch hitter. You just need the Purdue kid. Actually, that would be interesting. Right tackle also.
Yeah,
wow.
right
Actually,
tackle.
that's interesting. There's a lot of right tackles here that we didn't really think were going to be here, right?
Yeah.
In case you decide to go to Tyler Warren route.
Yeah.
Who knows if they're viable starters, but just curious. Well coordinated, pop, lightweight. So I don't know. Maybe they do go Warren. Who knows? We don't know anything.
Yeah. I mean, I would go the Arizona tackle.
Because he's Patriots. All right, fair enough. Yeah, we're not gonna spend too much time analyzing the Patriots.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck.
All right, Jags. That'd be me, right? Jags. Okay. I addressed nothing essentially. What do I need left? I need wide receiver. Something to pair up with Ridley. So I'm just gonna take the best available here because I don't care about the Jags.
I was gonna say you talk a lot of shit for someone who is blowing the draft for the Jags right now.
I thought I did a good draft for the Jags. I got Mason Graham. That's a home run pick for him. That's the most important pick.
Yeah, I mean that's just.
And I gave him safety. So, okay. Anyway, Browns on the clock. That's also me. Holy cow. They have a lot of needs. Okay, so I took edge. I took tackle. I took best player in the draft for positional value, right? I took a tackle.
Oh, they have 2 third-rounders?
They do. They have a treasure chest of draft picks this year, the Browns. They do. They really do. They have a lot of draft. Like
this is a really good draft for the Browns so far.
Thank you.
Yeah. This is really good.
I did good. I did good. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you did good for the Browns. I just don't think you did great for the
I did
Jags.
good for the Browns. Okay, so they need help everywhere. We already took care of that. I guess wide receiver, right? But this is where wide receiver is just dead. They don't need tight end at all, even though I love that.
Fannin. I'm a big fan of Fannin also.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't joked right, so I don't think you would double down there.
No.
Horton is interesting. Might be a little bit early for him, but
just for kicks for him. Just for kicks. Will Howard, would they keep the Cleveland kid at home? Would they?
I mean, dude, if you're gonna draft a quarterback, this will be the time to do it.
It's not unfair point. Round 3, though. That seems pretty high for this.
Yeah, I just think, but also go back to the ADP.
Yeah, it was like 120.
Yeah, I mean, that's
range.
That's
in the
11.
range.
That's 11 picks.
All right. I'll give him a quarterback. There's Saviors Will Howard, who played for Ohio State and I guess won them a national championship, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's no.
Yeah, someone will make a story out of it if they draft Will Howard. Ohio kid, you're not about. Okay.
Well, he's not an Ohio kid. He just played for Ohio State.
Yeah, it's not.
I think that's kind of like a feel-good story that a quarterback really needs.
Yeah. All right. The bots draft the Giants.
Let's look at. All right. Let's look at. Well, first of all, scroll a little bit down to see the
You drafted receiver.
picks.
QB, and corner, and you addressed nothing else.
Okay.
Tackle, you could use tackle, and a right tackle might be appropriate here. And we did see there was a lot of them in this draft.
Yeah. All right. So
they went missing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they went, man. That's the thing, bro. Like
They went missing. Where did they all go?
they all got taken.
You're a right tackle. You're a
That's
left
why-
tackle. You're
Yeah,
a
that's
bad
why you
left
don't wait, man. You can't wait on some of these positions.
You're a left tackle and a guard, apparently. Crenshaw Dickinson, great name.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with Rivers.
You're a right
here.
tackle. You're a right
I'm gonna-
tackle.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Jalen Rivers here. I think that's kind of who would be the available target for them.
But he's a left tackle, and you already have a left tackle.
You just plug him in that right.
It's not that easy, man.
Not that easy, dude. And also, like in reality, these two are exactly the same.
I mean, Becton's playing guard, so I don't know.
But I said that was gonna work, and it freaking worked, and I was right.
Well, it's an easier transition to.
It's
kick
an easier
inside
position.
Yeah,
guard
but
than to go from
look at
left
these
to
two,
right.
Rivers and Crenshaw. You actually have a right tackle here in from a stronger conference, right? And they're basically the same, right? You have higher PFF grades, whatever the hell that means. And the guy is a natural right tackle who has some left tackle experience. I am just saying.
All right, let's look
I
at
think the Crenshaw Dickinson guy. And just shut up.
let's look at hold on. Let's look at guard.
Yeah, you do need help there too. That's a good point. Seth? I always thought Seth was a terrible name for a child. This is center. You don't need a center. You don't need a center.
Yeah,
but they can transition. Yeah.
There's no
That's an
IOL.
easy transition to guard, but
yeah, it is.
Yeah, but there's and the next one's not going to be for a while.
This is a good guy.
I mean, that's a good grade.
He'll be. Yeah, but they have. What do they have? They have their last pick in this draft because we're just going to round 5 would be 154. I think he'll still be available.
105.
105?
Yeah, you have another pick coming up.
You're right. That's round 4. I was looking at 2. I was looking at I forgot about the 2.
Take the Crenshaw dude, be happy, and then load up again with Lampy on the next pick. That's what I would do. Yeah.
Well, hang on. Let's see what we got here.
We're not a Giants podcast. Just remember that.
Yeah, I know. Let's see.
And you already got an F by Kuiper standard.
And then what do we got at linebacker?
You don't need linebacker, bro.
Yes, they definitely do.
You got Basta. Solid.
Yeah, let's go with linebacker.
All right, fine. This guy?
Yep.
Whatever. You're spending way too much time on that pick. All right, very good. Titans are on the clock.
All right. Show me who we took again. Just want to make sure that I have all my ducks in a row here.
Sorry, I'm just texting. What's up? What do you want to do?
Show me the picks that
Yeah. All right. They don't have that many picks.
Yeah, they don't have a third rounder, which is interesting. So let's go back. What are the needs again?
All right, your needs are a lot. Defense.
Well, we hit quarterback and wide receiver. So
here's your guy. This is your guy right here. You need an edge guy to pair up with.
Yeah, Oladeju. I've heard a lot about him, and that's a good ADP. He slipped. Let's just go with him. That's a good pick for them.
Whatever. You got a decent amount of sacks last year. Whatever.
Yeah, I think this is a guy that you.
Browns are on the clock, who I did an amazing job for already. Okay. I don't really care enough to really care. Did I give him a tackle? Yeah, I did give him a tackle because I was a really good GM for the. All right, so I'm just gonna give him best available wide receiver just to wrap it up. Whatever this guy is. Okay. Giants, you're back on the clock.
Oh boy.
All right, Giants.
You want to go back to the interior? You want to get that guy that we were talking about, Lampkin?
Yep. Let's get it.
Well, thank you for being faster with the Patriots on the clock again.
Oh my god. All right, let's go back to the needs really quick.
Yeah.
All right. So we hit running back, we hit offensive.
Yeah,
I think we've hit all of the needs. So
interior.
Let's actually just look at best available. Let's just kind of scroll through this a little bit and see if anybody jumps out. I'm going to give him Harold Fannin.
Yeah. I don't hate it.
I would not be surprised if the Patriots used.
I don't hate it.
I know. Harold Fannon's the guy here.
I don't hate it. I'm the Jags. Is that right? Yeah, I am the Jags. All right, let me just see what I did for them again. I don't really. God, they have 2 more picks. They have a lot of picks.
Yeah.
Holy crap. Okay, fair enough. Good for them. They need a safety. They do need. They lost Cisco to us. I
Yeah,
didn't
that's
address
true.
that.
Yeah.
I didn't address that to us. Raiders. Raiders.
All right, let's look at. Hold on. Linebacker.
Yeah, it doesn't say you need it. Just real quick. You don't have a D tackle, just so you know. You address nothing in the trenches.
Yeah.
God, you're not even a good GM to them.
Let's see.
You're terrible.
All right, let's look at.
Yeah,
Can you shut the fuck up? All
Yeah.
right, I'm trying to pick over here.
Monty-
Yeah, interior.
Monty's about to draft 3 non-premium positions.
All right.
First 4 picks.
Let's see. All right. Yeah, I know, right?
This is a good pick for him. This is a good pick for him. Caldwell, that's a good pick for him. Big fat guy in the middle. Big fat guy in the middle.
Big fat run stuffer.
That could be good for us. Too late, but okay.
All right, go for it.
Yeah, that could be good for us too. All right, draft. All right. Who's up? Oh, we're up. Hey, we're up. And just to recap, tackle, tight end, wide receiver taken care of. And that was going to be our pick, I think.
Let's look at the interior defensive line.
Yeah, that sucks that we just lost that. That would have been good. Ty Robinson.
Ty Robinson is pretty good. I think this is really high for him, though, if you look at his ADP.
Yeah, 6'6", though. He's a big dude.
6'6", 310.
190. Ooh, that is high.
Yeah,
what about this JJ kid from Ole Miss? 6'2", 325.
He's bigger, though. That's kind of what you want in the interior.
Pass rush win rate's actually really high. And so is the run stop rate. What's wrong with this guy?
Look at his snaps.
Gets caught upright.
Yeah, you want to look at snaps.
Yeah, so he wasn't hurt this year. That's all. You know what I mean? Like he played all. I think he's the guy, man. He played all over the place on the defensive line.
Yeah, and the ADP dropped a lot from the combine. It looked like.
Yeah.
All right, let's look at it. Elite quickness, change of direction because it's left offensive lineman grasping for air on some reps. Nice.
He probably had a bad. Combine.
Yeah.
Versatile. Actually, this is like your John Franklin Myers right here.
There it is. On the older side, will turn 24 during his rookie season.
Yeah, so
that matters that much because it's a rookie contract. You know what I mean? So, like, his last rookie year will be in his prime year. You know what I mean?
Right. It still matters with development, though.
Right,
like
but
at 24, you're pretty close to your ceiling. You know what I mean?
Exactly. If he's older and he's already having below average test numbers, you know, his combine wasn't that strong. Like, if you're at that high, you should be.
Yeah, like you can overlook that if he's 20.
It's Ole Miss, though. I'm just saying.
No, I mean, listen. I think he's.
We gotta go with it, but I'm just saying that you asked. What was wrong.
I did.
Wait, actually, look at Peebles though. Look at Peebles really quick. His ADP is 115.
Yeah, and also
look at his grade. His grade is much higher.
Holy shit! Look at that pass rush win rate. It is sex, but it's also dominated by some really shitty teams.
Yeah, look at where he's played. Look at his size also.
Size 290.
He's small. Yeah, I don't think that.
And also older side too, 23.6.
Yeah, so let's go.
Yeah, but it is a nice pass rush win rate. But
yeah,
what about the Alabama kid, Tim Smith? Anybody know anything about him?
He's good. I've watched him play at Alabama. He plays everywhere, but I think that again he's look at his ADP. I mean, this is a big reach.
Probably because everyone's doing mock drafts now, and they're like, "Ooh, Alabama, right?"
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. What do you want to do? You want to do Pete?
Yeah, let's go with the Ole Miss guy.
All right, I'm good with that, and I think that's gonna be the end of the draft. Nope, Titans on the clock again.
Titans. All right. So what do we give them?
I don't really care at this point, given that we don't have any more picks left.
Just give him somebody. Give him.
I'll give him a running back.
Give him the edge.
All right, cool.
Everyone can do that job.
Jags, that's me. What did I do? I did so good for them too, man. So much better than Lonnie. I'm just gonna give him another deep tackle, just because they really needed a lot of help there. I'm gonna give him Ty. All right, screw it. That's the end of it. Analyzing the draft. We are done. Let's see if do they do grades by teams? No, they don't. All right, so we don't know. But I mean, how do we feel? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I still have the draft here, but
Yep.
how do you think we got? I mean, basically what we did. Yeah. I'm sorry. It doesn't give you the analysis of what happened, But essentially, I mean, just to recap the picks, right? We went Membu, right? That made the most sense, right?
Bamboo, yep.
Then we went Mason Taylor, right?
Also makes sense.
Yeah. And we went best available wide receiver, and
Yep.
then best available D tackle, essentially.
Great.
That is a good formula because you address the offense, which I guess is still and the defense is pretty much, I mean, it had a really bad year last year after you lost your coaching power with Salah gone, right?
Yeah, I think we hit like the major needs. I think this should be an offense heavy draft. Oh my god. I think this should be an offensive heavy draft. So I think we hit the big needs: tackle, tight end, wide receiver. Just try to give Justin Fields as many outlets and as much protection as they can. And then we got a prospect with some upside at defensive tackle, a little bit older, but I think that's what was available in this simulation. So I think it was a good draft for the Jets.
Yeah.
Now the Giants, on the other hand,
the Giants were dog shit. We know. I will say this though, because when I said Arroyo was available in the third round, he was, and he was the higher rated tight end. So Mason Taylor would have been there in the third round. That's what I'm trying to say. I think that was our one mistake. You guys were kind of about that, but that's okay. Because I mean, if Higgins was there, we were talking about that, right? We were talking about that was the guy we were really.
I don't think, but we're trying to be realistic too, because Jackson Dart was there, and we don't think he's going to make it to the second. I don't think that in reality, I don't think Mason Taylor makes it to the third round.
Yeah, and
mock drafts are hard. Mock drafts are very hard to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they're very hard to do because there's so much unpredictability to it,
absolutely.
right?
We don't know who's going to. We don't know a lot of things. Right? We don't know 98% of things. But I think that if I always look at it and say, if there's a guy you like, just take him. Don't get cute and say, oh well, positional value. We're going to do this, and then we're going to wait. Because a lot of times the guy you want doesn't always fall to you, right? And
and just to kind of go back to this real quick, right? Or this view, so we're centered, right? Yeah, like some of the you just go for the guy, right? If you like it, go for it, right? Yeah. But it's interesting though, Carolina. I mean, this is the run of tackle started to happen here.
What it didn't grade, but didn't it grade us last time? It didn't grade the Jets.
Yeah, because we're a one team, right?
Yeah,
so if you do multiple teams, it doesn't. Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, in reality, like I think it was okay. I mean, we probably didn't have to do every one of these teams individually. Could just let it do it on its own, but so be it, right? Mm-hmm. I think this is realistic. And the Cleveland really is the wild card, I guess, right? With what they do, right? Because that, as you said, right, it changes the whole draft, right? What they do, right? It really does.
It's one of those things where, like, and I keep going back to Schefter with the Browns. It's in the beginning of the process, he said they're leading Shedeur Sanders. Halfway through the process, he said now they're leading Abdul Carter. Now his most recent reporting is they're leading Travis Hunter. So it's like that's where the draft obviously starts at 2, and then the dominoes fall from there.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. And Warren, yeah, I think that's it right there, right? And it's actually kind of funny. Colston Loveland does fall that far back, right? You would trade back into the first round to get that, right?
Wait, say that again?
Someone like Loveland, yeah.
Yeah, you would trade back into the first round to get that. So you kind of win at tight end and at tackle, right? Like, let's just, if the board fell this way, right? And tight end just kept falling and falling and falling, right? You wouldn't trade up, and knowing the Eagles are probably the one target if there's some Dallas Goedert news, right?
I would say this, like, yes, in this scenario, if this is one of the things we're talking about, like with Jackson Dart, like, I don't think there's any way. The only way Loveland falls is if Warren goes 14 to the Colts. I think the Colts are going tight end. Everything we've seen is tight end. So
the Chargers, the other team too.
Yeah, so I just don't think that he would end up there. If he starts falling, I mean, look, the Eagles are always up to deals. So,
Actually, yeah, this makes no sense. Why would the Chargers go Josh Simmons when they have their tackles? They have Slater and all. That makes no sense. You're right. Yeah, that's where Loveland goes. You'd have to jump over the Chargers.
Yeah.
Right.
Which will cost a lot from where the Jets are.
Yeah.
That's like a future second rounder.
Yeah, I'm gonna criticize PFF. Like, you should know better than to have Josh Simmons go to the Chargers. Like, that's the one position they're not like. That's the one position where they don't need any help anywhere on that offensive line, right? Nowhere. All's a stud, right? And Slater is one of the best in the league, right? No. Okay. Ugh. So I mean, I guess, yeah. So this is what's gonna happen. Next week, we are doing a live stream of the draft. We're going to be going back and forth so we don't get shut down by YouTube for streaming the draft. But if you got this far in the episode, you can know that we're doing something a little shady. Right, but that's okay because you're supposed to pay for ESPN, but
I have an ESPN login, so we can just use that.
Yeah, but you're not supposed to broadcast on YouTube without them making money, right? But anyway, so be it. Just remember, guys, to just buy our swag and check us out because it's going to be fun, and we're going to be reacting live to draft picks, including ours. Just make sure you tune in. And also, buy the swag.
Buy our swag!
Are you in need of ethically sourced, 100% non-toxic, laughter-inducing apparel?
Buy our swag!
Do you long for merchandise that respects your right to chuckle in a safe, turbulence-free environment?
Buy our swag!
Look no further. The Laugh Through the Turbulence store is here to provide you with the most socially conscious, eco-friendly-ish, and cancellation-resistant merch available.
Buy our swag!
Our products have been metaphorically crash-tested for comedic integrity, ensuring they meet the highest standards of non-offensive, inclusive, and totally New York Jets-approved humor.
Buy our swag!
Whether you're looking for a t-shirt that says Laugh Through the Turbulence, a New York Jets podcast, or a hat that says Laugh Through the Turbulence, a New York Jets podcast, we've got you covered.
Buy our swag!
So, take a smooth, seatbelt fastened journey over to our store. The link is in the bio of our YouTube page, and shop with confidence. Because the only turbulence you should experience is watching the New York Jets.
Buy our swag!
Disclaimer, no actual turbulence was used in the making of the smash. Side effects may include uncontrollable giggling, heightened fashion sense, and an overwhelming desire to laugh about the New York Jets. Ha ha ha.
Buy our swag!